Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode, the last episode of the year. I'm your host, Orlando Haynes. As always, the guest I have bring tremendous value to the podcast, to the audience. So I'm super excited for this one. This is kind of a special one. But before we bring on this young lady, I want to just share that this podcast episode is sponsored by the Career Accelerator Planner. This is a planner I co created with my partner, Karen Turner. It is designed for you, the corporate professional, to track your performance, document your wins, your projects, all in one place. So anytime you're in a position in the corporate space looking to, making sure you're tracking all the performances you've done, and it's time for those crucial conversations around merit increase, promotion. You're looking to transition to a new career. You've documented everything that you've done and what you've brought to the table. So there's no more excuses about trying to forget what you've done. You can document it. Definitely, it's a planner, so it's not a book where you can track all the phenomenal things you've done in the corporate space. So you can jump over to the careeracceleratorplanner.com, use promo code CAP25. You get 25% off until the end of the year. Again, that's careeracceleratorplanner.com. Use CAP25 as a promo code for 25% off. All right. So this topic, I think it's pretty fitting for the end of the year as we go into 2023, the great resignation, a lot of tech and other space layoffs that are happening. There are a ton of folks looking to figure out, what do they do? Do they go back to corporate? Do they start their own business? And this young lady has a phenomenal story, and I know her personally. She is the CEO and founder of JC Healthcare and Associates. She started her own business about several years ago, but I want to walk through that journey with her as to she started, receiving a paycheck. Now she has people employed and on payroll. So let's bring in Miss Dr. Jessica Chung. How are you?
Thank you for having me. How are you?
Good, good. Let's just be transparent. The folks that don't know, we serve and worship at the same location here in Florida. So we know each other fairly well and have known each other for a couple of years. So it's exciting to have you on.
Thank you.
So share with folks a little bit more about your background.
All right. Well, born and raised in Queens, New York. I gotta shout
Yeah,
out
yeah, I'm a
New
New
York.
Yorker, so let's go.
So I am a true New Yorker. Born and raised in Queens, New York, and I grew up watching my grandmother as a nurse. Her work ethic was impeccable. Just her background alone is inspired me. Watching her come from another country, the island of Jamaica, and pretty much build up a life for herself and her family in New York, and becoming a registered nurse in her 40s. That alone was an inspiration to me. So although I tried to steer away from healthcare, as through high school and trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up, I ended up going into nursing. So that's where my story starts and how I ended up here today. So did undergrad and graduate in nursing. And my ultimate goal was to become a family nurse practitioner, which I did do that in 2015. And lo and behold, I thought I was good. I thought, I've reached my master's degree. I'm fine where I am. And someone who's close to me challenged me to get my doctorate. And I just thought, like, you're absolutely crazy. I'm not going back to school for another few years. But I'm glad I was challenged because with all of that, I was able to step into another realm in my career, professionally and even personally. So that allowed me to not just go from being a healthcare professional, but also becoming an entrepreneur, being a voice for other people who were in my field who never visualized or saw themselves in the forefront as an expert or as even a healthcare entrepreneur, which is up until a couple of years ago, you didn't really hear too much about people who were in my field going into entrepreneurship. So after doing my bachelor's degree, starting my bachelor's degree, I moved to Florida. That was in 2011. And I've been here in Florida, where I I basically just moved here to just get new opportunities. I was just looking for new opportunities and to grow my profession. And then it just continued to grow, that I developed this interest in entrepreneurship. I really didn't know that that's what I was going to do. This was not like one of my dreams. I don't have a story of, yes, I knew I was going to be a business owner. No, this honestly, this kind of was something that was placed in me. It was put in me the desire to own a business. And so I started up my own medical practice a few years ago, and we are going strong. And it did start out with just me, as you know, I was the head woman in charge of everything. I was running the show all alone. And now I've just been blessed to be able to now have a team. And that has grown into where I now help other healthcare professionals who want to start their own businesses as well.
Awesome.
And so that has also grown into its own team. So honestly, God has just surprised me and amazed me over these past few years. And that's pretty much my journey of how I got to where I am now.
Good. I was hoping you didn't go too far because there's a lot of
Yes.
information down back there. I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. But yeah, so for folks that are watching, yeah, she has a program. She teaches other nurses to launch their own business. So there's a lot in there. But before we get to that, um, I know you since you was in the corporate space.
Yes.
So there was a time where it was the 9 to 5. It was the hustle and bustle. So walk us through that, and then when that epiphany, when God said, "Hey, you need to take this leap of faith. I gave you this talent.
Yeah.
You have the skills, you have the talent. I'm behind you. I'm around you. I'm for you. Take the leap."
What a time that was. Corporate America. So, what a time. I could write a book on that alone. Okay, so let's see. I came to Tampa, or we met probably somewhere in 2012, 2013. And at that time, I was working in the hospital systems, just as what is known as just a floor nurse. And I knew I was going back to school for my master's. So I believe at that time I just enrolled, and I was going for my family nurse practitioner. And it wasn't towards the end of the program, when near graduation, that is when it came to me about owning my own practice, my own medical practice. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll work a couple years after I graduate, work a couple years, get the experience, and then I'll see, I'll think about it. It was just more so a thought.
Hmm.
And after working a couple years, transitioning from what's known as floor nursing or bedside nursing into now primary care, where I am now the taking the lead role in taking care of people, working in different places, offices, nursing homes, rehab facilities. I realized, I was like, okay, this is not where I want to be forever. So I will say what really propelled me to go into entrepreneurship is around the same time that I decided to go back to school for my doctorate. I just at that point I realized that I was the only one that was really going to put a limit on myself. So it was either I was going to further my education, and further my career and further my income potential, and it was either I was going to do it all, I was going to do nothing at all. So I decided, once I decided to go back to school for my doctorate, I decided at that point, I said, I don't want to extend this. So I enrolled for my doctorate, and they give you the options on how long you can complete the program. I was like, give me the 1 year program. And I'm like, now I think about it, how crazy it was. That was a rough year for me, but I knew what I wanted. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I want to get to a point where I can finish this, gain the knowledge I need to gain, but I really want to get into entrepreneurship at that point. By the time I was finished with my doctorate, I knew exactly what I wanted. And so that's exactly what I did. I actually started building my business as I was graduating. And so once I was able to officially use my title, doctor title, then that's what I really started to do, with no experience, really no one kind of guiding me or showing me, teaching me. I really started to just brand myself as this. as this healthcare professional, this healthcare expert. And so I would do, I would just maybe do like a few speaking engagements.
Hmm.
People would invite me to do talks and motivational speaking engagements, career, educational advancement. And that's where I was like, you know what, this is exactly what I want to do. And so that led me then to starting my own practice. Now, that alone is another journey. It took to get me where I am now. But definitely around that time of me graduating, getting my doctorate degree, that's exactly when I knew that I wanted to become a business owner.
Awesome. So let me take a quick pause. I'm thinking. I'm not sure if I'm having technical difficulty. Can you see me okay on your side?
Yep. Now, mhm.
Okay. All right. I think your one side of it is good. The other side it's frozen. So let me see real quick, folks. Apologize, but I'm gonna do a refresh. If we disconnect, we can easily jump right back on. But don't want to stop the momentum. Hold on one second. All right. There we go. Cool.
All right.
Yeah, we're back. Awesome. So with that, everything that you said there, with that journey, where were the struggles in corporate where you said now it's time? Like, what was that? It was that epiphany, right? Was it trying to find a new placement, a new place to land
Yeah.
in your experience, and it was like, man, this ain't the life. Like this is for me.
So, everything I've done up till now has been for a learning experience. And I did get in a place in corporate healthcare where I felt like I was stuck. So, even though I was educated, I was making great money, I felt like that there was a limit. Like there was always a cap to what I could do. So, it was either like, did I want to, fight for promotion? Did I want to fight for a raise, 1% yearly raise? Did I want to fight for all of this, or did I just want to create my own space for myself? And so, definitely time was a factor.
Hmm.
I definitely wanted more freedom of my time at that point in my life. Just being a young woman and being very involved in things outside of work, especially with my church and travel. I wanted more freedom of time, and I realized 2 or 3 weeks of PTO for me just wasn't going to cut it out of the year, and having
Ouch!
to
Right.
it
That's
just
the
wasn't,
reality.
it didn't make sense to me. Or having to decide, okay, do I want to take this day off? If I do, then I can't take this other day off. And so those time constraints is that I didn't have my freedom of time working as an employee in that time of my life. And just also seeing that there were some deficits in the healthcare system that I
Hmm.
didn't agree with. There were things that I unfortunately had to just do or become accustomed to doing, just because the truth of the matter is the healthcare system was a business and it has to continue running. So you have to work for the company that you're working for to make money. And if you're not working, if you're not seeing, 30 patients a day, if you're not doing all these things to bring in the money, well, they're going to cut you loose. And I
Mm.
felt like that was hard for me to do as a healthcare provider, to effectively take care of my patients with a very limited time constraints. So that was another reason for me. And I knew money was another factor. Like I said, I was making a good salary. By no means was I not making money, but I knew that there was more that I could do. I knew that there was a higher earning potential. And so I was willing to take that risk to see, okay, how much more can I really make? Is there really that, who are people like in my profession, are we really capped to a certain income? It's
Hmm.
the corporate that caps you, obviously. But you don't have to cap yourself. And so those are the three main things that I really saw as my reason to get out and do something and make something better and different for myself.
Awesome. So there's something you said that I'm gonna ask, and you let me know if you can expand on it. Not to tell on your healthcare professionals, colleagues, but you said there was time constraints with
Hmm.
seeing patients.
Yeah.
So in the healthcare space, going to a doctor, they're in and out like that. Is
Yeah.
that something that is standard? They're like, hey, you need to be seeing, notating and billing as many people as possible. Is that wow?
Pretty much, if you are, the healthcare system relies on payments from
Hmm. Hmm.
other systems. We'll just keep it like that. And the more patients you see, the more billing you can do, the more money that the company makes. And so that's just, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But you being on the other end where you have patients and you need to spend time with them, that they deserve more of your time, but you can't give it because you got 10 other people waiting on you. You haven't taken a break yet. You haven't charted on anything. You
Yep.
haven't answered phone calls, emails, refills, all these other things you got. And then that was the my setting I'm working in. So just imagine a more of a acute setting like the hospitals,
Hmm.
where you literally have the people waiting on you. People are, emergencies. This is happening down the hall. That one's, crashing on floor two, and so things like that. So I pretty much have experienced every area of healthcare: hospitals, clinics, nursing homes, rehabs, all of it. And I've seen all aspects of it, and I'm glad I did, because I understand the business side of healthcare, and I understand the patient care side of healthcare as a healthcare provider. So that's one thing that I help other people to understand. Like, there's a business side that you have to be realistic about. You
Hmm.
can't just be out there saying, "Oh, I'm going to help the world and we're going to do this and I'm going to
Kumbaya.
volunteer." No, you're going to be broke. No, you have to understand how to make money, be effective, grow, but also be that healthcare provider for, or whatever healthcare service you're offering, and offer quality and effective healthcare services. Because the truth of the matter is, our healthcare system does continue to lack in many areas. But that doesn't mean that if you're going to start a business in healthcare, that doesn't mean that you can't be profitable and be effective in the healthcare services that you provide.
Got it. So I'm take a step back on one piece there because you talked about time freedom,
Hmm.
and where the constraints are in corporate America, and we know this. Do you feel there was a big transition in your time freedom at the early starts of your business? You're about 4 years in now.
Yes.
Um, did you feel like, wait a minute, I don't stepped out on faith and God said this to me, and I'm about to, and I got no time to do nothing else. Like I ain't traveling nowhere this year.
Right.
Like was there a piece there where you're like, man, this is more than what I thought it was?
Yes. There is still today, there are days where I'm like, what did I sign myself up for?
Mm,
Why did I do this to myself? But it's easier to get through it now. But yes, in the beginning, when you're first starting a business, it's a sacrifice that you're making. You're taking a huge leap of faith, especially when you make that transition from completely leaving a secured job
hmm.
to work and on your business and in your business. That takes a lot of faith. And so you will find that times, I did find at times that I had a new sense of freedom of my time, so to speak, meaning I wasn't so worried about getting to work and coming home from work and working on my business. But at the same time, I found myself that I had to keep myself disciplined, because it's easy to say, well, I have this free time. I can do this and this and that. Well, no, I really had to discipline myself to say, okay, I'm going to get up every day,
Hmm.
and this is what I'm working on. This is what I have to do. This is what I need to focus on. So I really took on a new form of discipline. And there were some times where I found myself working every single day, and I was like, wait, this is crazy. You leave a job working 3 or 5 days a week, and now I'm literally working every single day. I'm working, working, working. But with that being said, it was a sacrifice that I was willing to make
Mm,
to live the life that I want. It was
yeah.
at that point, at that time, I'm glad I did it at that time, and I put in that much effort, and I put in that much time, and you know, invested my time, my money, everything, my energy into it. Because now, as the time goes by, I can see the fruits of that labor.
Hmm.
So even though I'm still working, I still work, but now that I'm able to have a team, that's one of the things I teach about being entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is not about living this lavish lifestyle. Entrepreneurship is about creating opportunities for others. So now I find myself like I want to do so much, but then I forget that I have people to help me sometimes. So
Hmm.
I feel like, oh, I want to be hands on. I want to do it. Where I'm like, oh, no, wait, I spent the time training someone to handle this, training someone to handle that, training someone to handle this. And that's what now where I can say, okay, now I can really understand like what all that time and energy that I've put in a few years ago, now that I'm seeing the benefits of that, I'm seeing the what has been produced from that.
So here's a question for folks who that are watching, and if you have questions for Jessica, Dr. Jessica, feel free to do so. Where did you learn your business acumen? Right, where did you start to learn business, entrepreneurship, operations, payroll, leadership? Because I can say most, but medical professionals, that's not the business side, right?
Mm-mm.
Vastly different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And you hear people say, dentists, physicians, when they open up, they don't make the best business,
Hmm.
owner. They don't understand profit and loss sheets, all these other things. So
Right.
where did that start for you? What was that journey like?
To be honest, I will say that when I started, I was looking for mentors. I was looking for other people like me who did the same. And it was actually really hard to connect with people. I
Mm,
found that people either weren't supportive, or they didn't want to share information,
mm,
or they weren't sure themselves, so they didn't want to make it seem like they really didn't know anything either. So that's the truth. So I really had, honestly, if I look back, I did not have any one individual that I could
mhm.
say I that helped me understand and teach me things. I literally took time and I would research. I would call agencies, departments, in regards to like if I was not understanding like if legal aspects of the business. um, I would do research. I would watch, if watch videos or read books on business building, entrepreneurship, and I literally just did it from scratch. I
Wow.
literally did it from scratch. I guess that's the one thing now about me is that I took the time to do the research before I actually took the launch. That was something that I was adamant about. Is like I wanted to make sure that what I was doing it the right way. I was doing it correctly. But I did make mistakes even after,
Hmm.
and there were things I did miss. But the good thing was that I was able to learn and correct myself, and then on top of that was able to now teach someone, okay, this is the steps, this is the best way you could take to avoid the mistakes that I made. And so now, because entrepreneurship has exploded, especially after the pandemic,
Hmm.
there are so many resources out there for people who want to start a business, especially when it comes to medical professionals, because this isn't something we're taught. There
Yeah.
physicians aren't taught this in school, nurses aren't taught this, different type of other healthcare professionals. We're not taught the business side of healthcare, and so therefore learning it, and now that there's other resources out there, it's easier now. It still takes work, but it's easier for somebody coming in. But for me, it was like from scratch, just trying to write. Like literally, I literally remember I was wanting to write a business plan. I had no idea what I was like. I don't even know. I've written papers for years in college. I do
Hmm.
not know what to write a
Dissertation.
business plan. Right. I could write, but I was like, I don't know what to write a business plan. And I drafted my own business plan and I sent it to somebody to review because I was like, hey, they were like, oh, I know somebody can help you write it. Just draft something up first. So I said, okay, drafted it up, sent it to the person. They were like, you don't need anybody to write your business plan. But that also comes from is that I had a vision and I had a determination
Hmm.
that I was like, I was going to get this done no matter what it took. I was going to figure this out. I was going to get it done. And that's exactly what I did. So I feel like to say for people who don't, who are like me or who were like me, who like, I have no idea what to do, you just start somewhere. Just start somewhere. And trust me, it will work out in your favor if it truly is your heart's desire.
So it sounds like a little bit of that saying you were kind of building the car as you were going. But though,
Mhm.
even though you did the research ahead of time, I'm sure there was still like, okay, this is book knowledge. I got to implement this
Right.
for it to be practical. And there's some things that you probably went through that are just not in the book. You're like, hey, page 75 and say nothing about this. Like,
Right.
what?
Yeah. Some of these things just come from experience. You just have to experience it.
Hmm.
That you have to literally come up to a stumbling block and say, okay, I got to figure out how to get myself over this or around it. And so, and the truth of the matter is, you could take a course, you could read a book, you can go to a conference, you can get a consultant, a mentor. But the truth is, the best way to learn from the journey is to go through the experience yourself.
So now you have, so again, 4 years in, we won't, you talked about having a great salary there. We won't go into financials here. I know the circle we run in. We don't need people in the pocket. So, so we gonna keep that off the table. And if Sister JR is on still, she knows what
Yes.
I'm talking about too. We don't need people in our pocket. So, with the ability now to have again, going from paycheck to payroll, right?
Mhm.
Massive blessing. With that, when did the epiphany again to say, okay, I'm confident enough to start teaching this? Because now that's a different realm.
Mhm.
Employee, business owner, teacher, to say I'm going to teach what I just learned because I have a track record of success. What was that process like?
So that process came pretty close and not too far as far as when I launched my practice. And I think when I actually did it, a lot of people, one, couldn't believe I actually did it, but two, were inspired by it. So a lot of colleagues. And so once I actually did it, I started gaining, a following, especially, social media.
Hmm.
And people were like, how did you do it? What did you do? Can you give me the steps? And I would give advice, and and then when somebody was like, hey, how much do you charge for a consultation? I was like, oh,
Let me
how
get
much
back
do
to you
I
on that.
charge? I was like, well, how much do I charge? So I was like, I charge this much. So it was like, oh, somebody, you gonna pay me? You want to pay me for this?
Hmm.
And that was not like when I started the journey, started my own practice, it was not my intention to turn it in, then to, have a consulting company come out of it. That literally was just a byproduct of what I was doing. And so I started out just, helping someone here and there. And then I decided that at some point it was becoming a little bit too much, trying to help a bunch of people all at once. And so I said, well, I'm just going to host, maybe I'll just host like a workshop,
Hmm.
and I'll see how many people come. And I remember it was right before the pandemic started. I decided to host this workshop. It was going to be in person in Tampa. And then COVID came and the lockdown came. And so I had to switch everything virtually. And when I switched it virtually, even more people registered. And I was like, this is absolutely crazy. Like, people are actually paying this for this. And to me, it was just mind boggling because I didn't know that so many people were like me. They were in a place where they wanted to
Hmm.
um, start a business but didn't know what to do. They didn't have any resources, or they didn't have anyone that they can go to ask. So it then turned into what is now a thriving company. I can't count how many people we've had taking our programs and classes and workshops. I even see some people on the live that have joined and have taken one, at least one of my programs. And now it's just amazing to see when I see other people who I've helped now starting their own businesses, starting their own
Hmm.
practices, starting their own IV infusion clinics, starting their own med spas. I'm amazed because I still, although I've experienced the success I have, I still see myself as a continuous student and a
Hmm.
learner. So to see that people are learning from my experience, my knowledge, my research, it's just amazing. It's amazing to see people thrive in entrepreneurship. So I love it. So yeah, that transition, that was unexpected. That was not something that I was thinking would happen from that. But nonetheless, I'm glad it did.
Now, do you recall? And that's amazing. I have two points. Well, let me just state this first because I know you not as the well, I do know you as a doctor, but not in that space as much.
Yeah.
I know you as Sister Jessica, come to church, worship, serve in ministry, be there for folks, be there for, personally in our lives for our kids and things like that. So to see this side of it, and I just want to say publicly, super amazed, super proud of you, sis.
Thank you.
Definitely God has touched you. And I've seen you in service, and you know what I'm talking about. Where we're in a different, you can tell when we're in a different space, right?
Yeah.
And then when we come through that space, so
Mm-hmm.
it's great to see all that. The question I had: do you recall? Because you mentioned the pivot you made
Mm-hmm.
from a physical to go online. Do you remember the amount of people who came to the very first workshop?
Yes, I do.
And
I
this
do.
was your first workshop
This was my
ever that you
first
put together.
workshop that was almost ruined by COVID because for liability reasons, I
Hmm.
decided to not have it in person anymore. And yes, so I do remember, the people that
How
did.
how many showed for that? Because and I want to preface this because this is your first, and I don't know, but this is your first workshop you've ever done in any space at any time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
what was that? If you
I
recall
want
that
to
number,
say where registration was about in the low 30s, low
and this was a
30s.
paid registration.
Paid registration. This was my first paid, large, so to speak, event.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. I'm not sharing because I clicked. I was like, oh, she charging, huh? She charging these folks. So I was like, this is real right here. So that, I mean, that's phenomenal to think when you see that and go back and like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
this is like I have to come through now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
Hmm.
jump back. I'm gonna jump back again to time, freedom of time.
Yes.
Because what happens in entrepreneurship, right? I still work a 9 to 5 and do business on the side, but you're full blown entrepreneurship. You're now. Do you feel that you're managing it correctly, where you can multiply your streams of income and expand your gifts, or is it again you're like, man, I I wanted to clock out and go travel, but I'm so sucked in because I love the entrepreneur journey that I'm doing
Hmm.
more. Like, what's that space like?
So every day, it's different. It's literally different every day. There could be a day everything is great, and there could be a day something's falling apart, and I have to be the one to fix it. So yeah, every day is different. But with that said, because I love what I'm doing, I don't mind putting the time into it. So to say, do I clock out? Do I stop checking my phone and emails at 5 o'clock? No, I don't. I'll be honest, I do not. But it's I'm doing it because it's my time. It's for
Hmm.
me. And as of before, if I had a job and I was supposed to leave at 5, Jessica was leaving at 5, and she wasn't thinking about anything
Hmm.
else until she arrived again the next morning at 9 a.m. And so that's truly what it was. It was literally a job. Although it was my career, it was a job. In this aspect, it's different because I know the more effort I put in, the more that I'll get out. And I know that because there's so many people who want to achieve this as well, I am willing to sacrifice, some of my what I consider now my free time to do other things and see them grow as well. And so now to me, it doesn't feel like, yes, I'm working, but it doesn't feel so much as a job. It doesn't. I don't dread it. I
Hmm.
don't. I don't resent it. I love it. There are days that are hard. There are hard decisions I have to make every day, or almost every day. Do I decide on taking this step or that step, or what direction are we going to go? And now I'm making decisions not that only not affect me but affect other people. And so that's pretty much something that never changes. It just changes in how the perspective. Now it's so much so that, like, okay, I'm working, but I'm working towards my goal. I'm working towards what I want for myself and my future family and those around me. I'm working towards, how much do I want to be able to help others and give more. And not so much now that I'm working to help build somebody else's dream.
Got it. So what's the pressure like? Because it's a different type of pressure right now.
Yeah.
Again, you have a payroll. You have folks that
Hmm.
work for you. So talk to us about waking up with that kind, because there's a good side, there's the ugly side. Like you said earlier, it's not the you out there flashing and
Hmm.
buying Gucci, buying this, buying that. Because again, I know you as you're humble. You haven't bought the Benz yet, but I'm sure it's coming. But but
Not
what's
yet.
what's the pressure of that, knowing that, man, I got people, I'm young, I'm thriving, but I got people counting on me to show up.
Yeah. So in the beginning, it's definitely scary to think that not only are you having to keep your business afloat, but now
Hmm.
you're saying, "Oh, I'm going to pay somebody. I'm going to pay you every 2 weeks. I'm going to pay you every month to do XYZ. And I'm dependent on that. I'm going to have enough revenue coming in to pay you." And in the beginning, I one thing I'm tell everyone, and I say this: you have to come to terms with the fact that you may not pay yourself. And I don't have a time frame on how long that will be, but you have to come to terms of whether you're going to, if you're going to hire someone or hire a team, you're going to pay your team. You're going to make sure the business bills are taken care of. And what you could pay yourself, you have to make the decision. Are you going to reinvest that back into the business
Hmm.
versus paying yourself? Or making sure just your bills are paid, if using some of that for personal bills, but not actually taking that any of that for leisure expenses.
Hmm.
So that's a decision you have to make, and it's a reality you have to come to terms with, that there may be a period of time that your business is thriving, but you're not in a place yet where you can pay yourself, or where you can say, well, I'm gonna cut a check for myself, and this is how much I'm going to take from the business. So that is a reality. It is scary to think, and it's definitely something you're going to face in the beginning stages of your business. But I can say that now it's not so scary. Just taking the time to make smart business decisions.
Hmm.
You know, um, not trying to build something so grand that you're going way beyond or way too far ahead, but taking the time to grow your business effectively, um, not rushing any process. I one thing I didn't do is I never went in over my head. I was very strategic, and even started my medical practice when I started. And I was just starting, and I was doing house calls. I was going to pay
Hmm.
people's homes,
Yep.
and I started that. And then I took the leap of faith and I got this little small office. And I was quickly outgrowing that. Then I, got a slightly bigger office, and then a bigger office. And even bigger. So, I that was gradual. That wasn't something like, I'm going to rent out this 5,000 square foot space and be in over my head. And unfortunately, because I know people that made that mistake, or,
Mm,
I wasn't going to spend all this money and throw it into marketing, and I didn't have any money coming in. So
right.
these are things that you just learn. You have to make wise business decisions. You have to find what works for you, because you may see somebody else, but they may have 5, 10 years in that. And here you are just starting and you're trying to get to where they are, and you skipped over a bunch of steps. And
Yep.
so you're going to find yourself in a place where, you know, frustrated, miserable, angry, upset, got, and at worst, having to close your business, shut it down because you just didn't make those smart business choices and decisions.
Let's talk about something that you don't hear much about when you know, you listen to YouTube and different entrepreneurs. When you're starting your business, when you're starting to see the financials come in, you're like, "Whoa, all right, it's picking up. I'm getting the clients. I'm getting the clientele." Talk about the temptation to make the wrong decision. You're like, "Oh
Yeah.
man, this is the most I've ever seen. I think I could pinch a little bit off to
Hmm.
go do this versus, like you said, put it back in the business, whether it be marketing or some kind of software to help.
Yeah.
Talk about that space there and what led you to stay focused.
I think for me, I've always had a different mindset when it came to finances, even at a young age.
Hmm.
I would like any like birthday money I would get, I would like put it in a piggy bank. I wouldn't touch it. And that's just something that's the way I've always been. So when it came now to business, I took the same concept, just on a
Mm,
bigger scale. And it's easy to say, oh, we did X amount this month, and I'm going to take half of that, and I'm going on a 6 week trip. Don't call me, don't text me, don't email me. But the truth of the matter is, until I get to a point where I can say I don't have to work, then that's where I can say, okay, maybe I'm doing well. I made it. But if I
mm,
decide I'm going to take 6 weeks off, my businesses, my they might get a little shaky when I come back. And things
mm,
might
mm,
not be all that great. So I'm not there yet. So you have to be disciplined. I go back to discipline, because you have to be disciplined with your time, your
mm,
resources, your money. Everything takes discipline. If you're not disciplined, entrepreneurship is going to swallow you up, because you have to decide, like, well, you signed a $10,000 contract. Are you going to now decide how you're going to reinvest that into the business to make 20,000? Or are you going to take that 10,000 and decide that you are going to, buy a new car or
mm,
take a trip? So you have to make smart decisions, because if you take that 10,000 and waste it and said, oh, I made money, well, now you don't have any money. Or you can take that 10,000, reinvest it, and keep doubling and doubling and doubling until you continue to see your profits increase. Because I think one thing people have to realize, that the difference in when it comes to business, when you're working, you make an income, you make a
mm,
salary. They pay you that paycheck. You decide how you want to disperse it. You want to pay bills, you want to take a trip, you want to go back to school, pay for school, whatever you want to do. When it comes to business, you make a revenue, but your business expenses are deducted from your revenue, and then what's left after that is your profit.
mm,
So you may have made 100,000, but that doesn't mean that's what you've profited. You can make 100,000 and profit 500,000.
500.
And then that doesn't
Yep.
mean anything to
Nope.
walk around saying, well, I made six figures in my business if you're only profiting 500.
Yeah.
So the goal is not to just make all this money and profit nothing. The goal is to make the revenue, see the revenue coming in, but also to see a profit. And
Hmm.
that's what you want to see. You want to see your profit. And then, as your revenue grows, your profit should grow. And then as your profit grows, then you have, more financial freedom. That's the goal ultimately.
Love it. So let's transition. Let's talk about International Business Association for Nurses.
Yes.
Share with us more about that. I know you touched on the coaching program, but let's go a little more in depth. on that program there.
Yes, so that program started from that very first workshop I decided
Hmm.
to do. And I think because of the challenges that we faced with healthcare with the pandemic, that allowed for a lot of people to decide that they had to come up with a plan for different and multiple streams of income. And so we started out just doing just like a workshop that I did, every couple of months. And then we turned it into this signature program that I developed on my own in regards to starting up a private practice.
Hmm.
And then we added on, this past year, we added on, I think, three other courses, uh, self-paced courses that you can just get the course and follow the steps to launch a business. And so we focus on healthcare services, different types of healthcare services. And we are just continuing to grow and offer different services, courses, and resources to help healthcare professionals um, either become entrepreneurs or grow their businesses in different ways with these different resources. And so we've partnered with other companies. I mean, this is probably this has really exceeded what I expected it to be. I find that the more that we are advancing in healthcare, is that
Hmm.
the more people are more confident in wanting to enter into entrepreneurship as healthcare professionals. And so that's just my goal of International Business Association for Nurses, is just to see not just nurses, but even other healthcare professionals use their talents and their education to start businesses and to do it the right way, not to, not to down other people who help people start businesses, but a general business consultant may not be able to effectively help someone starting a medical business. It's very different. I tell
Hmm.
people all the time, starting a medical business is not like starting, you know, a boutique or a restaurant. It's very different. There's a lot of things that go into starting a medical business, legalities, because the thing is, you're dealing with people's lives.
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of legalities. There's a lot of little things that you should know that is not readily available to the public. And so that was the goal, is just to help people. And like I said, to see people who have gone through our courses and programs, to see them launch their businesses, to see them grow and thrive and help other people. Now, that to me, that's the most that is the most rewarding thing, is that when I see somebody who's gone through our programs or taken a course and see them doing actually what they set out to do. So that is, what I started in 2020. So we're coming up on our third year anniversary soon in 2023. We are planning to, since I never got to host an in person event,
Hmm.
2023, we're actually planning to launch our first in-person event here in Tampa. And
Nice.
so that is something that I'm excited about. I feel like, it's going to be amazing. And I feel like there's just going to be amazing things that God is going to continue to do through that organization.
That's awesome. So here's a question for you. Do you feel as though now, and again, you're still in the early stages, but you've already acquired some great success in building out multiple businesses. Do you do you look at yourself, or you ever stop and just think, am I a healthcare professional who started a business, or am I an entrepreneur in the healthcare space?
I am a healthcare professional first, always. That is what there's no other profession I know. I didn't go to
Mm,
school for like different things. I don't have different trades, and all I know, everything I know is based on healthcare. So that's what I know, and I love healthcare. I love helping and taking care of people. So for me, I'm a healthcare professional who went into entrepreneurship, who is building enterprises. That's
mm,
that's that's how that's how I see myself now.
love it. Now I'm gonna take a wild guess. Is Vanessa Boiling? Is she one of your students? or no?
Vanessa, I believe Vanessa did take one of our workshops. I know
Okay,
I saw Celia, but Vanessa has been connected to me for a while.
because she's
She'll
on
have to
fire in the
remind me
comments.
how we originally connected. But I saw Celia McIntosh. She has been connected with us for a while as well. So yes, Vanessa is enrolled.
Awesome. 'Cause like I
Yes.
said, she is on fire in the comments. So appreciate you, Vanessa. And
Yeah, it was a
we
workshop.
got JR's a consistent supporter of the show, so I appreciate you as well.
Yes,
And
JR. Yes, she supported one of my early speaking engagements, and so thank you, JR, for always supporting me.
she is an entrepreneur herself, her and her husband. So, what's next? Like you said, you touched on, don't build it so big.
Hmm.
But now that you're building multiple businesses, right? And you're seeing that
Hmm.
success, that vision changes, right?
Yeah.
That drive changes. You're like, wow, what can I do next? Like, what's going to come of this? Do I franchise? Do I take a little piece of everyone's business? Whatever. Right? All these thoughts can come through your brain.
Yeah.
So, what do you see coming in the next 2 years for whether it's the program, speaking, JC Health and Associates? What does that look like?
So I definitely want to get more into being operator,
Hmm. Hmm.
and owner, and not so much owner operator. So I want to, not that I, like I said, I love healthcare. I love what I do, but I am wanting to now kind of reproduce and clone myself,
Mm.
where that way I can free even more of my time to work on other projects. So having people in place, like now in my clinic, we have two other nurse practitioners who are there, and having them, training them, and having them feel comfortable with seeing patients, where then now I am not having to necessarily be in the office every day, and getting them comfortable with being the healthcare providers they are. And so then now I can transition to work on something else for JC Healthcare and Associates, whether if it's an additional location,
Mhm.
taking that and expanding that, and going into other ventures in other states. That's definitely something we started doing early in the clinic. Actually, back in like maybe 2020, I already started that. But really just taking the time where I can focus on that more. Um, we are looking to acquire a larger space in here in Tampa next early next year. So that's coming up.
Nice.
So we need more space because we're growing, and just going from there. As far as with IBAN, the goal again is just to continue to help people. We have I think what I've done is I've developed these programs and courses that they they run themselves,
Hmm.
and I have amazing clients and students who they've taken it, they've done well, and they are able to tell other people, this is what I did. This is what helped me in starting my business. And so I just want to continue to offer those resources. I do want to continue to, I want to get the word out more about entrepreneurship in healthcare, because I
Hmm.
don't think the word is out enough. We hear a lot about, how to care for people, new treatments, new drugs. We learn all that stuff, but we are not there's not enough education for healthcare professionals on entrepreneurship and the business side. So I do want to get into more opportunities in teaching that to other people, not just virtually, but actually physically in person in conferences, at these medical conferences that
Hmm.
we have to do every year for continuing education. Very, very little is dedicated to business and entrepreneurship. So I
Mm.
think that just seeing that more, where we're not only focused on increasing our skill set, but actually increasing our ability to have create opportunities within healthcare, um, and really empowering people to step out and launch out in entrepreneurship. So yeah,
That's
that
it.
that is definitely what I see for the next 2 years.
That's interesting because I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, at these healthcare professional conventions, that it's a mix of folks working for hospitals and private practice owners.
It is, but it's the business building and the entrepreneurship
Hmm.
side of is not talked about a lot, if at all.
Sounds like someone
So
needs to put something together. I don't know
yes,
what you think, Vanessa.
definitely.
Let's confer with Vanessa. Should Jessica pitch that idea
Yes.
to start talking about entrepreneurship at these professions? Right, be a breakout speaker there or something.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
there's a huge opportunity there. Yep, agreed. Done. All right, you got some more work to do, Jessica.
Yes, as usual.
So what's where can folks find you? Where can they find you, your medical center if they're here in Florida, and the program?
Yes. So here in Tampa, we offer JC Healthcare and Associates. We offer direct primary care services. You can visit us, our website, jchealthcareassociates.com. We're located centrally in Tampa, pretty much in like the University USF area. And we are always accepting new patients. So you can visit our website to reach out to us, to contact us if you would like to schedule an appointment. The International Business Association for Nurses, you can find us at ibanurses.com. Everywhere on social media. You can follow me at Dr. Jessica Chung. You can also follow IBAN at IBA Nurses. We have a master class coming up. So if you are thinking about starting a private practice, but you want more information, you're not really sure what direction you want to go, we have an introductory masterclass that is happening on January 14th, 2023. And you can register for that if you follow me. It's posted everywhere on my social media. We're always advertising it. And as far as we have, like I said, we have things that we're doing coming next summer. We are going to have an aesthetics and IV infusion skills workshop. So that will be here in
Mm.
Tampa. Registration will be opening for that in the next few weeks. And or you could just connect with me on social media, Jessica Chung, Dr. Jessica Chung, and message me, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
Absolutely, absolutely. Invite her to your next, healthcare professional panel, your next entrepreneur
Yes.
panel. Get her on your podcast. Thank you so much. This was great. I learned a lot more about you on the business side, which is great. Even though I see you like 5 times a week,
Right.
right?
Literally.
We just don't know. But people are so busy, we just don't know what goes on
Yes.
outside of the day to day. Just, but it's good. Like I said earlier, it's good to see you flourish, not only in Christ, but in business. So
Absolutely.
what's your daily mantra? What's your internal clock that says, I got to get up and do this?
I got a few. I got a few, but I mean, I'm just gonna keep it real.
Yeah,
I don't want to just be a millionaire. I have to be a multi-millionaire. I'm just gonna keep it real.
say that
Multi.
again.
I gotta be a multi-millionaire. I need a couple millions. That literally is what keeps me going. I don't want people to think, oh, she's just driven for money. Well, Bible says money answereth all things. So if you don't have
Hey,
money, you can't answer anything. You don't answer, you can't answer any questions, you can't answer calls, you can't answer messages. So I need to answer, and I need money to do that. Um,
amen.
and then to me, it's just about when that day comes, I want the Lord to be able to say, she did everything that I put in her to do. And I have to, if I don't please anyone, I must please Jesus. So
Mm,
to
mm.
me, that is the greatest motivator I have, is to make sure that I'm doing everything the Lord put in me to please him and to serve people. So that's it.
Well, we're gonna leave it right there. I got nothing else to say on that. Dr. Jessica Chung slash Sister Chung slash Sister Jessica. I appreciate you. Again, I learned so much about you. We're definitely gonna have a part two because I want to see what this looks like as you have your in-person event and what's going to come out of that. But I don't know. I think if you push for that, do the entrepreneur side at these healthcare conferences, God's
Yeah.
gonna open the door for that for sure. Like
Thank you. Absolutely.
insane opportunities.
Yeah. But let me say this. People
Hmm.
don't know this about you. I came to you a couple years ago. I said, Brother Orlando, I need help. I came to you a few times. I needed a new resume and I needed help with an interview. And I will say this, you gave me interview tips that helped me get my first six-figure job. So
Ooh,
people don't know that about you. But if people listen to this podcast and follow you, if they are struggling with getting to that next position that's going to take their career to the next level, get with Orlando Haynes, please.
thank you so much, folks. Absolutely follow her on LinkedIn. Send all the questions. Blow up her page. And just watch. Let's just watch this journey together. I'm gonna have a closer look because again we worship together. So don't be jealous, folks. Don't be jealous. Anytime you're in Tampa, come on out and connect with us. But I'm gonna close this out with a video. Again, appreciate you, sis, for
Thank
everything
you.
that you do. I can't wait to see what God does next in 2023.
Thank you.